Hey, and welcome back, Twin Flame Lover. It's Dr. Amanda Noel again with part 2 in this Twin Flames 1111 activation video series. Today's module is called Twin Flames 1111 DNA Codes and Kundalini Activation. It'll benefit you most if you watch all 3 of the videos in the series. So after you watch this one, make sure you've watched the part 1 video. I'll leave the link in the description box below so you can learn about the numerology and meaning of 1111. Watch out for video number 3, where I'll teach you how to prepare for a rockin' 1111 twin flame activation ritual. In this video, I'm going to share some important secrets about the 1111 codes and why and how to use them to upgrade your DNA, your Kundalini, and awaken your twin flame union. Also importantly, if you haven't already registered for the complimentary Global Twin Flame DNA 1111 activation happening on November 11th, make sure to do so now by clicking the registration link below. What you're about to watch may feel a little tingly, a little ancient, a little new, and you might feel a shift happening in your body. Some of you might even be a little triggered, so I urge you to receive what feels good, to be coming with an open heart, and also have that sense of discernment as you seek your own truth. Let's get started with Twin Flames 1111 DNA Codes and Kundalini Activation. As you'll remember in part 1, I talked about the hidden coded power that 1111 represents, which symbolized the harmonized twin flame energy. That is the balance of divine feminine and divine masculine energy, a union that's connected or married at the heart center. In part 1, I also talked about how the ones in the 1111 represent the masculine energy and the invisible zeros represent the feminine vortex, the yoni, or the void. Remember, 1111 also holds a hidden 000 for those who have eyes to see and ears to hear her. As we awaken, we must align our more subtle and divine feminine aspects of ourselves so we can awaken and bring her into the holy union. Truly, the number 1111 is a symbol of resonance, balance within polarity, marriage of heaven and earth, or some may say heaven and hell merging in harmony here on earth, and of alchemy, most of all of twin flame love. Now, I want to talk about the temple of the twin flames and how 1111 shows up within the temple. The temple of the twin flames is not a fantasy, nor is it a 3D temple exactly. It is a template or a roadmap to building a better brain and body so that we can align our earthly form with our spirit form, as above, so below, like parallel lines or 11s bridging the worlds and bridging the twin flames. The Temple of the Twin Flames was once known as the Temple of Solomon. The Temple of Solomon means Temple of Sun and Moon, representing the masculine light, sun or Christ consciousness, and feminine love, Mother Moon or Mother Womb. And these two come together to birth a Christed child. That's us, the awakened humans. At the Temple of Solomon, or perhaps more accurately, we can call it the Template of Solomon, was built in the shape to match our human body. It is literally a map comprised of specific codes, perfectly measured, sacred geometries, and occult symbolism to help humanity build that better brain. The Temple of the Twin Flames is a gateway to higher consciousness and spiritual mastery. At the temple, we can soul marry our beloved, our soul's mirror image. But more importantly, it is at the temple that we may marry our higher self and become humble servants, kings and queens, gods and goddesses who heal the planet. The 11s symbolize the twin pillars at the Temple of Solomon, the Temple of the Twin Flames. In the ancient world, the names of the pillars were Jachin and Boaz. Jachin is the masculine pillar on the right, and Boaz is the feminine pillar on the left. These two twin pillars are actually seen in the Kabbalah, the tree of life, and they hold the 12 chakras or 12 sephirot. They also represent the 12 strands of DNA. The twin pillars share an invisible third column representing the divine union. Each pillar represents the left and the right brain and the Kundalini channels and the merging of that. The Kundalini, snake-like energies that connect us to source, are the serpents that ride up and down the spine. Just like we have our own 11s, a right and left Kundalini at our central spine, we also come together with our beloved when we make love. So therefore we have the 11-11. Our two serpents join with another serpent. This bridges the upper and lower worlds. And the Kundalini is what activates our brain. A quote from the ancient Vedic text, Taittiriya Upanishad, is, "Where the skull divides, there lies the gate of God." Indeed, 1111, or also the number 22, symbolizes the twin pillars that are aligned with the 12-card tarot deck, the 12 chakras, the 12 months of the year, the 12 sephirot on the tree of life. And the 11 isn't exactly an 11. If you look at it, we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So you add the 0 and you get 12. Thus the number 11 in the Twin Flames 1111 becomes something more than just two lovers. It is all of these things in the Tree of Life. So how can we use the 1111 codes to activate our DNA? Well, now first we have to ask, what is DNA in the first place? DNA is the hereditary material made up of monomer units called nucleotides, which are comprised of one of 4 nitrogen-containing nucleotides: cytosine, guanine, adenine or thymine, and deoxyribose, which is a sugar, plus a phosphate group. Now, I'm not going to cram your brain with a whole lot of complex science and jargon here, but I want to encourage you to do some homework on your own if you desire to dive in on a deeper level. The important thing here to understand is that our DNA carries resonance, and it carries the genetic instruction used for the growth, development, functioning, and reproduction of humans and all living organisms, and even many viruses. DNA is a code, a language, a divine alphabet that can be organized into words, sentences, paragraphs, chapters, and even books or series of books. It's like the Book of Life or the never-ending story of... Might remember the movie. Human DNA is made up of about 3 billion bases, over which 99% are identical in everyone. Almost every cell in your body contains the same DNA as all of us. We are one nation under Goddess here on Earth. It is the sequence of the bases spelled out in our DNA that create our infinite and unique individual potential. We write our own unique, never-ending stories. Currently, mainstream science takes a primarily three-dimensional, limited view on DNA. Science says that we have only 2 strands, a double helix impression configuration. However, the double helix expresses only the surface levels of the chemical, electrical, and elemental DNA strands. Until recently, science has suggested that perhaps 97% of its 3.2 billion bases had no apparent function at all. They said that our never-ending story, our Book of Life, was just swimming in a sea of junk. But that is incorrect. The DNA is not junk in the so-called junk DNA. It just hasn't been understood. What science is ignoring is the higher dimensional aspect of our DNA. The higher dimensional DNA goes way beyond the 2 strands and includes at least an additional 10 DNA strands, which are multidimensional and magnetic. These 10 additional strands of DNA, or 5 double helix strands, were disconnected or deactivated eons ago, some say by the Anunnaki. It is said that at the Temple of Solomon, a 22 DNA activation was used, where 12 strands relate to the physical body and 12 strands represent to the spirit. And each of these 24 key strands had substrands. The DNA activation process activated 11 of each, and the other 2 strands were the galactic code and the divinity code. At this time, the higher dimensional strands of DNA cannot be detected by scientific equipment because they exist on the teeny tiny quantum level. These extremely small systems exist in atoms or very small molecules, for instance. Now, the quantum higher dimensional DNA includes both satellite DNA and jumping DNA. Satellite DNA, it's made up of a variable number randomly repeating sequence that interfaces with the morphogenetic field, which is a group of cells that respond to localized biochemical signals leading to the development of specific morphological structures or organisms. These DNA strands can be activated through the body cells, and jumping DNA is the DNA that can rewrite existing genetic codes. It makes up half of the total nucleotides. Both satellite DNA and jumping DNA interface with our morphogenetic field, that field which is like the Force in Star Wars. It connects us with all life and all consciousness. Our DNA is controlled by the signals from the outside of the cell, from our thoughts. The waves of the morphic field are what carry the 1111 twin flame activation, magic and miracles in spells, and what recode our DNA. To put it simply, our thoughts, when tapped into our higher consciousness, can create our higher dimensional DNA activation. In fact, top New Thought scientists are showing that genes and DNA do not control our biology, and that by simply shifting our thoughts, we can redefine our personal reality. We can literally override the carbon framework at the level of the nucleic acid bases in the DNA by choosing to do so. On the 1111 activation, I'm going to share some powerful details on how to shift your DNA, even if it's been stuck for generations. So let's talk about the twin flame DNA. The sequence of the zeros and 11s in our DNA determines our genetic code, our state of being, and our physical and spiritual alignment that allow us to align in the physical with our twin flame. Essentially, 1111 means all-in-one-ment, alignment. Alignment by harmonizing the polarity of the chaos in our junk DNA. The union of the twin flame energy, represented by the 1111, is where we create a matrix of aligned ones in our DNA. So we talked about how the universe is coded of zeros and ones, and we can have a totally crazy mess of junk DNA that's like a soup of gunk, and we don't get to use our higher dimensional DNA. Or we can choose to activate our DNA codes into alignment. What's important to note is that the higher dimensional DNA works on the quantum level. So you don't have to be able to prove it that you've been activated, but you will feel the shift. Activation of the DNA is possible by making certain frequencies within the environment through one or more of a person's 11 twin flame chakras, the 12 chakras, counting the zero, using the twin flame Kundalini. These frequencies include crystalline vibrations using crystals, sound, color, musical notes, ancient sound codes, tones, mantras, sacred geometry, and energetics of different elementals. The Twin Flames 1111 activation is something we've been doing every year, and this year we're offering it free to our Twin Flame tribe as our way of saying thanks for supporting the mission of spreading Twin Flame love and awakening across the planet at this very critical time. We're so touched by all of your comments in our videos. So thank you so much for posting. If you haven't already registered for our complimentary global Twin Flame DNA 1111 activation happening on November 11th, make sure to do so now by clicking the registration link below in the description box. You'll be sent specific information to help prepare you for this year's 1111 and get some tips and tools to begin utilizing the magic. I look forward to seeing you there. Namaste, namasko.